Welcome to the Straight from the Source's Mouth podcast. Frank talk about sex and dating.
Hello, everyone. Tamara here. Welcome to the show. Today's guest is Susan Thomson. We'll be talking about breakups and the effect they have on us. If you like this episode, be sure to tell your friends about it and rate it as well. Thanks for joining me, Susan.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I think obviously everyone goes through breakups, so this is beneficial to hear kind of how to get through them.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And I guess first question is like, what got you into having this be something that you really care about and focus on and share with
Okay, let's go back. Let's go way back. So it was 2.5 years ago. I was in what I thought was a happy marriage. Granted, we had some issues. We had, but I thought that was normal. It certainly wasn't alarming. And we everything was good. The day before the incident, we had been out with our dogs, rolling and playing in the snow. I'm in Scotland, as you might tell with my accent. So we were in the snow, rolling, playing about with the dogs, having fun. We went home, made dinner, had dinner, watched some telly. Then I used to always go to bed earlier than my now ex-husband. So I said, I'm off to bed. I'll see you in the morning. Night, night, love you. And then we gave each other a kiss, cuddle, and that was me. Off I went to bed. Next morning, I worked from home. I had my own dog grooming studio, which was in my back garden. So I was waiting on a client coming, and my ex-husband was in the kitchen, and he was like, "Right, that's me. I'm off." And I was like, "Right, okay. Where are you going?" "No, I'm leaving." And I was like, "Yes, I hear you. Where are you going?" No, I'm leaving." And I was like, "I know, but where? Where are you going to visit your mum? Are you going to friends?" And he was like, "No, I'm leaving." And that was that. That was my marriage ended. No discussion. There was to be no chat about it. I was to accept it and get on. So, my client came and I groomed a dog, and I was a bit like, what's actually happened here? Do you know, I couldn't take it in because this was so out the blue for me. However, it was real, and he did leave, and there was no chat. A few days later, he texted me to say, "Can I get out of the house so that he can go in and collect all the remainder of his things?" And that was it. Didn't want to see me or anything. So my marriage ended so suddenly. It was quite. Looking back now, I think I was in a state of shock for probably about 2 or 3 weeks. I remember phoning my friends, and I was saying, "Oh, hi, how are you? Oh, by the way, that's me. I'm single again." And my friends were like, "What?" It wasn't just me. I think everybody was in a state of shock because nobody expected it. We were very affectionate with each other. So when we were out, we were always holding hands. We were, kissing or cuddling, always very affectionate, always showed affection to each other. And there was nothing whatsoever that alarmed me. But what happened was we had a business together. So I phoned my lawyer at the time and I said, my lawyer was called Judith. Judith, Mike's left. And she was like, "Well, what for?" And this is a part that, now looking back, I'm like, holy moly. I said, "Well, apparently it's all my fault, Judith. I'm a horrible person. I drink too much." And she said, "You drink too much, Susan. Are you not teetotal?" And I said, "Yeah." So why? Where is that coming from? And I was like, "I don't know. That's what I've been told." I stopped drinking for quite a period of time because my mum wasn't well, so I was always having to go back and forward to hospital, etc. And I just kept not drinking because I felt better not drinking. And then he said to me, I said to my lawyer as well, "I think I'm abusive." And she was like, "Susan, does this, are you sure that this is the reason?" I was like, it is. And she went, "No." She said, "Let me tell you something, Susan." She says, "I've done this job for 30 years. Men don't leave without a reason. Women do. Women, she says, in my experience, will just get up if they're not happy and leave. Men don't. And I was like, no, Judith, it's my fault. It's all my fault. And I've caused this. So I took all the blame. And then I did find out there was more to it about a month later. And that's when things got a little bit silly. But yeah, I think the first 2 or 3 weeks, I think I was just in this, I accepted it, but I didn't really understand what was happening. And then what was difficult was I still had my business to run. I still had the dogs to walk. We don't have children together. So that was, that side of it was fine. But then when I felt, I still had to do everything. I still had to care for my mum. I still had to look after the dogs and walk them. I still had to see my clients. I couldn't just stop and think, what's going on here? It was looking back now. Wow, it was just, it's awful. It's a horrible, horrible thing to go through.
Yeah, I mean, it's like ghosting on steroids, because you're married to the person and all of a sudden they're just out of your life and you have no idea why.
Absolutely.
And you did what most people do, is start making up stories about what you did to cause it.
Yeah. Absolutely. When it's like, you drink too much, and I thought, but I don't drink, but I still believed it, because I don't know, looking back, was that maybe gave me a bit comfort to think, well, there's an excuse, because at the time I couldn't think of a reason why. So, looking back, I accepted that, because it felt, there was a reason, and at least it helped me get through it all mentally. Now I realise, obviously, that was a load of rubbish, and there was a lot more to it. And then when you're out of it, like now we're over 2.5 years, and I've realised, that he was actually quite a different person than how I perceived him. And for to say that you're a drunk and you abuse me, when it was like, I don't drink. How can I be a drunk? I don't. You know what I mean? It's just like, actually, I think you've done that to me throughout our whole marriage. So, but that period of time was absolutely horrific. Absolutely horrific.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And how, I know you said you're in shock for 2 or 3 weeks. How did you get past that stage, and like what brought you out of it? Or
I think I was in shock for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then after that, I obviously went into the grief cycle. So there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of hatred for myself, not for him, but for me. And that I was angry towards him, so angry. I felt so betrayed. His family, as soon as he left, his family all disowned me as well. So I went from having this loving, nurturing family to absolutely nothing. They didn't phone or check up on me or anything, and I went quite downhill. And it was probably about 2 or 3 months after he left that I was in a bad way. I really was in a bad way, to the point where my friend came down, and we contemplated, if I should phone the emergency doctor, or we should head up to A&E or get the police, or it was a awful time, and I think that was my lowest. And we often hear that you have to hit the lowest, because you can't go any lower.
Yeah.
And I remember that evening when my friend left, and I lay on the kitchen floor and just cried all night, and I obviously fell asleep and woke up to the dog, lying beside me. The dogs must have thought, oh gosh, look, Mum's lying on the floor, this is great fun. And that was the turning point for me, and I just thought, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. It's not, this isn't my fault. And then as I started to recover, which was a long journey. But that was a turning point for me. I just thought, no, nobody. If somebody now, like when I think of it, I'm like, okay, if he left, then it's his choice, and I wouldn't persuade anybody. Now, at the time, I would have been, please, I'll take you back. Please, just come back. I'd have begged, but now I'm like, I've learned to love myself, and I think that was one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from this, is I didn't love myself enough.
Yeah. I follow a lot of Instagram people, obviously, for dating and sex and stuff like that, and relationships because of this podcast. So that's pretty much the bottom line for everyone, is to love yourself,
isn't it?
Then and it's easier said than done.
It really is.
What steps did you take, or how did you find yourself?
Well, from such a young age, I think we're programmed not to love ourselves, and it's not intentional. I think the way that our parents, will say to us, don't be selfish, think of other people, put others before yourself. They are all fabulous ways to live, but it's also telling us that we are not important, and as we, as children, we take in information very differently to how we do as an adult. So somebody says to you as an adult, put your friends before you, the way you interpret that's very different. Where as a child, your subconscious mind doesn't form until you're the age of 7 or 8. So when, an adult says that to you, you interpret that extremely differently. So I think we're taught from quite a young age to not think of ourselves, to not put ourselves forward, because that's selfish, and selfish is bad. So I had to work around that. There was a lot that I had learned as a child. I had a great upbringing. I had a great childhood. But there was a lot from my childhood that was causing me not to love myself. So I started spending more time with me. I journaled morning, noon and night. I love writing. I didn't realise how much I love writing. So I did a lot of writing. I did a lot of reading, so like self-help books. I went for counselling because I had this desperate desire just to feel better. And I went to counselling, but I had 3 sessions and I decided it wasn't for me because they kept going back into my past. And actually, after every counselling session, I felt dreadful. Like I was, really upset and thinking, actually, this isn't helping. And I do believe that we need to address our past, but I didn't want to stay there. I think it was good to visit my past and say, this happened, which is why I'm like this. Okay, but let's move on, because I feel I'd come to terms with my grief through journaling, through learning to accept myself, through spending time with people who loved me, and just trying to understand my own mind, my own thoughts, my own belief systems. That helped me massively. And it takes time. It takes patience.
Yeah, I can see that, or I know that. Yeah, like you said, the unintended consequences of parents thinking they're helping you out, but and there are no parenting classes, and even when they're like trying their best or doing their best, it's not their fault, but it's just like you said, it's just stuff that. So you were able to learn yourself more by doing more things and figuring out what you like and spending time with friends. And what else was the catalyst for helping you move on or heal?
I decided at that time that it was now my time to live my life. It was now time for me to do what I wanted to do because I had freedom. So I started to perceive the breakup so differently. It wasn't a breakup. It was actually, this is a gift for me to do what I really want to do. So it was like, what do you want then? What do you want? And I thought, well, I don't want to stay in the area that I was living because that was where he lived and where he was brought up. It wasn't home for me. So I'd always wanted to live overseas. So I thought, I'm going to go overseas. So I sold the house, ended my business, and me and my 2 dogs went to live in Spain for 3 months. That it's so funny because I still speak to the people that I met when I was in Spain. And they said to me at the time, well, you're not healed yet. And I was like, yes, I am. I'm absolutely fine. But now I realise, no, you weren't. But that was part of my healing process as well, was to go and do that. And it was fabulous. I had an amazing summer living in Spain. I think spending time on your own is a surefire way to help you to love yourself because you see your flaws. I also had to stop thinking about him, and I didn't want to feel bitterness towards him as well. So if anything, spending time working on yourself is, I think, is absolute key. Because that's where I've come up with a lot of things that I've wanted to change for many years. I now understand myself. I now have boundaries so that nobody would ever be able to say to me again, you're a drunk, when I've not had alcohol for years. Do you know, and for me to believe it. So I think spending time on your own. I didn't want to rush into another relationship, and I probably could have if I'd wanted to. I knew I needed to be by myself and understand the part that I played in the breakup. Whilst the grief is awful and you just want to feel good again, you have to let that go. Otherwise, you're trapping that energy and that emotion inside of you. And once it's trapped inside of you, it's just going to come back and you'll end up in the same relationship, the same, you'll attract the same people. So I knew I needed to feel awful in order to release it.
Yeah. And I don't know if a lot of people get that. Yeah. Feeling the feelings, and they last 90 seconds at the most at the time they come in.
Yeah.
So if you can just get through, and there was a book, it was around 90 seconds for a life you love or something like that. But yeah, it's stressed that it's literally only 90 seconds. So just bear through it. And like you said, you don't want it to get trapped in your body. There's another book, The Untethered Soul, I think, that talks about that. Yeah, where it talks about just trapping like bad juju.
Absolutely.
Like in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I found relief from that trapped energy by doing breath work. So it was a breath work, they call it a breath work journey. And it was 90 minutes of doing this active breath work. And I've never experienced anything so like flabbergasting in my whole life. I was, during the session, I was crying, I was shaking. We were to release the energy. It was just phenomenal. So I decided that I wanted to learn how to do that so that I could help others to release that energy. So I became a transformational breathwork facilitator so that I can share that with people, because that was just incredible, an absolutely incredible way to release that energy. But yeah, you do need to feel it. You do need to go through that cycle so that you can heal.
Yeah, because a lot of people try to mask it. I was just reading a book. Oprah just wrote a new book with Arthur C. Brooks called Build the Life You Want.
Okay.
I want to say it's almost, and it talks about happiness, and it talks about, what did we just say? I always lose my train of thought. The last comment you said made me think of this.
You have to, you in order to heal, you have to feel the hurt.
I can't remember the exact thing I was going to say about it. Yeah. But yeah, it was something along those lines. Sorry. So
that's all right. I'm sure it'll come back. If it comes back, just shout out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we want to start feeling better quickly. But actually, what I didn't give enough, I think we want to heal so quickly because we want to feel better. We don't like feeling like that. I didn't give it enough respect how awful a breakup is, how traumatic it can really be. And I was deeply traumatized, I've never been traumatized like this before. And I've lost pets and I've lost family members. But this, I think it was my age as well. My body was changing. There was lots of things happening to my body to do with, like hormonal changes. I'd recently been diagnosed with endometriosis, so was trying to overcome that. And there's so much was happening to my body. In fact, so much was happening to my body that one of the excuses that my ex-husband gave me was, if you're going through menopause, I don't want nothing to do with it. Right, okay. Now I realise these were all just excuses to make him feel better, And I think it's actually coming to terms with the fact that, yes, I played a part in my relationship breaking down, but so did he. There was, and there's that realization that I think we can often take on all the blame when we're the one that has been left. When I think we can take that burden when somebody has left us and said it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. We take all that on board, and that was where my deep, darkest thoughts were that made me go downhill so dramatically.
Yeah.
But actually, no, we're not. It's not just our fault.
Yeah, and I did remember what I was going to say earlier about like I was saying that people start masking the feelings instead of feeling them. They do, and the example was workaholism, like working so much that you just don't think about what's going on with yourself.
Absolutely.
Or of course drinking and drugs and all that
Absolutely.
kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And I did want to get back to the breathwork stuff that you do. If you want to share like how people get a hold of you and like what you do exactly. I assume you have clients and you work with people.
Yeah, so. absolutely. I have clients, and I do a short program which is you to do with breath work. So you can I work with clients for 6 months, or I just have a smaller program where we can tackle just one thing, and you get a breathwork journey, which is specific to you, dependent on what you want to work through, whether it's grief, trauma, self-love, whatever that may be. And then you'll get 2 coaching sessions as well as the breathwork session. But the breathwork journeys are absolutely incredible. They can often, I worked with a client recently, and she took about 3 weeks to actually come fully back into herself. And there was a lot of grief that she hadn't let go of. A lot of resentment towards herself. So I worked with her over those the weeks after the breathwork journey, just to get her through that. I've never experienced anything so powerful. I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist, but the breathwork is just something else. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I did a little bit. I went to a retreat in Costa Rica. A friend has one. She just started, and we definitely did some of that. And I forget what it exactly was supposed to mean, but my arm kept hurting, just hurting, like really bad. And I would just like shake it around the whole time we were all laying down. And I forget what she said it represented.
You can often, I've had it a few times where you can get something in your fingers called tetany, and it's just because of the way that we're breathing, we're taking in so much more breath, and because of all the gases that are moving around our body, our fingers, hands can go into like lobster claws, and it's called tetany. That's quite painful. But it goes away because my fingers are fine. But I also get a pain here, which is like at my upper left shoulder. And the first time I done it, that pain was incredible. Now it's just there. It's not, it's not sore. So there's lots of different parts of your body where emotion is trapped, and that will tell you what it is.
Okay. Yeah, I think mine was mostly like the elbow and the upper arm. But before I forget, let's make sure we say how. And do you work virtually so people can get a hold of you and do it online?
Yeah, everything is virtual. And I'm on Facebook under Susan Thomson, or I've got an email address. But yeah, Facebook's probably the best bet. I'm always hanging about on Facebook.
Yeah, and if you want to spell your last name just to make sure.
Sure. So it's Susan, Susan, and Thomson, which is Thomson.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. And I always like to get kind of final comments, or either like a rundown or summarize or whatever you want to impart before we head out.
Yeah. I would say feel the feelings. And yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it's awful. And as I say, I didn't give it the respect that I should have. But above all of that, be very kind to yourself. You know, you're an amazing, we're all amazing in our own way. And nurture yourself, love yourself, and develop so much love for you that this has been your growth. Turn it into a growth, and really see it as an opportunity. Don't miss out on feeling the hurt though, because that's your healing. That it will help you to heal, and it will also make you so strong mentally, physically, spiritually, in every single way, that you won't be the same person. You won't be the same person.
Yeah. Going through what you did made you who you are, and you're stronger now because of it. But at the time, it definitely sucked.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Very much. All right. Well, thank you very much for all of that.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you being on. And yeah, that's, like I said, that's like ghosting on steroids. I can't imagine just like having no, just like, and you didn't even know, you're like, yeah, where are you going?
Yeah. Honestly, it was like a movie, even when I think back now, I'm just like, goodness me. Really? And now I think, there was no respect there from him for me to do that. That was 12 years, and just to walk out on somebody that's been in your life for over 12 years.
Yeah. And it probably says a lot about him too.
It does, for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say one more time, reach her on Facebook, Susan Thomson. She spelled it earlier. So, but yes, definitely reach out to Susan if you'd like to. And I swear by breathwork as well. The one time I did it definitely did stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to do it again.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. If you love this episode, be sure to tell your friends about it and share it and like it and follow. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks again, Susan.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Bye.
Frank Talk, sex and dating educates.